Hi there, Chemistry 1012, Fall 2024. This is your instructor, Mr. Dion. And what I wanted to do right now in this video is just kind of run over a little bit of our class and show you how to navigate D2L and find the necessary items that you need in order to be successful in the class. And the first thing that you're going to see when you log in are going to be announcements. And I'll just go over the first announcement that was posted for today, which is just a brief introduction to me. You can see my introduction or my profile is down here in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Anyhow, so first thing is read the syllabus and schedule. And you can see that if you click on that link, it should open up the syllabus and schedule. So the whole thing is here. And I recommend downloading this and printing this out. And you can see I'm scrolling through it kind of quickly, but the first thing I would do is I would print out the schedule. So I would print out the schedule for textbook reading and YouTube videos and exams and discussions and homework. And then I would also print out a copy of the lab schedule that I have shown here. Now you see that labs don't get started until the 5th week, and I'll explain that in a little bit more later on. But there are 2 exercises, the getting started in laboratory safety exercises, that are due the 1st week. So those are going to be important for the 1st week. Anyhow, we'll get back to that more in just a second. But also, besides the syllabus and schedule, you can see that point 2 here, it says that you need to create an account in Science Interactive, as this is where you're going to be submitting your labs. And if you click on the link here, it's going to enable you to open up Science Interactive and create your account in there. And I'm your instructor. I'm not a student, so it's not going to look the same if I go and open it up. But when you open that up, you're going to be able to register there, and that will allow you to complete the Getting Started in Laboratory Safety exercises on that site. You do not need a lab kit to complete those, and they are due on August 23rd. Now, in terms of a lab kit, like I said, labs are performed at home using a lab kit through Science Interactive. And when you enroll in Science Interactive, that's going to kick it off in order for you to get your lab kit. So when you access the course today, or the first day, you should see a pop-up window that appears in your course for you, in this course, for you to submit your shipping address. This has to be done, meaning you have to submit your shipping address before the drop date. And if you live abroad, you should try and get this done by the 3rd day of class. And so once you submit your shipping address, the college will take care of the rest, and they will ship the lab kit to your house. I'll post an announcement with a little more information on that later on. But again, you want to make sure that you get your shipping address submitted so that the college can get your lab kit sent out to you. Also, we have, you see point 4 here says complete the Chapter 10 prep quiz. That's due on August 21st. The prep quizzes are usually due on Tuesdays. This one I made due on a Wednesday because we're just starting the class and you're kind of getting used to it. But the prep quizzes are very short. They're usually about 5 questions. And it's just to kind of get you initiated into the concept of what's covered in the chapter. And I actually recommend reading the textbook before that in order to familiarize yourself with the content, or if you need to brush up on some of the concepts from Chemistry 1011. Now, if you're wondering how to access the textbook, if you click on the Content tab at the top of the screen and you go underneath the syllabus and schedule, you'll see textbook. And if you click on that, it will open up something that looks like this. And the one that we're going to be using is the one at the top. It says Chemistry 1012X00, Fall 2024. It has my name there. And it says General Organic and Biochemistry. And the author is Catherine Denniston. So you want to click on the Read Now button. And that will open the textbook. And you can see here that we're starting on Chapter 10, which is the saturated hydrocarbons and introduction to organic chemistry. Now, I highly recommend reading the chapter right away. I think that's the first thing you should do. And as you read through the chapter, what you'll see is there will be different questions. You can see here there's question 10.1, 10.2, so on and so forth. And then once you get to the very end of the chapter, so if we scroll all the way down to the end, you'll see a few things that are handy at the end of the chapter. You see something here called a chapter map, which goes over a lot of the concepts that are covered in the chapter. Then she always puts in a summary of the reactions that you learn in the chapter, a summary of the chapter. Oftentimes students will ask me, is there a summary of all the information? Well, there's one in the chapters for every single chapter that we cover. And then And then there are more questions that you can work on here. And you can see that I have handpicked all the suggested practice problems. So you can see that at the beginning of the chapter, it started with 10.1, 10.2, et cetera, et cetera. And then it continues on with 10.9, 10.10, 10.11, so on and so forth. And I recommend doing as many of these problems as you possibly can, okay? In fact, if you go back in the content, you'll see suggested practice problems from the 11th edition. And when you click on that, you'll see that I have handpicked from chapter 10, and I'll update this as the semester goes on. You can see I've handpicked all the questions, 10.3, 10.5, 10.6, 10.7, 10.8, all the way up to 10.111. Now, I didn't put 10 point in front of every one because that's redundant. So it just says 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. And these are not for any credit, but the way to master organic chemistry is to practice. So you're going to go back to the chapter and you're going to do all the way up to 10.111. Now, if you're wondering where do I get some feedback as to whether I've answered these questions properly or not, well, if you scroll down to the bottom of the textbook, you can see that we have the answers to the odd-numbered questions and problems. So we don't have the answers to every single question, but we have an answer to a lot of the questions. So if we scroll down here to chapter 10, just bear with me. We keep scrolling down here to chapter 10. You can see we have the answers to the odd-numbered questions. So that is the key to mastering the content, in my opinion. It's reading the textbook, watching the videos, and doing all of those practice problems. Now, also, we have a chapter 10 homework that's due. You see it's point 7. It's due on August 26th. If you're wondering where the homework is, there actually is no homework tab on here. It's the tab that says quizzes. That is going to be the tab that you're going to click on to do your homework. And of course, you could follow this link as well. I recommend waiting until you have completed reading the textbook and you've watched the video lectures and you've done as many practice problems as possible before attempting the homework. Now, if you're wondering where are these lecture videos, again, if you click on content and you look at chapter 10, which is our first chapter, you'll see here it starts today, August 19th, and you see I have a little blurb here where I kind of cover some of the major topics that are covered in the chapter. I have the lecture slides posted, and then I have video lectures that will link to my YouTube channel where I cover all the concepts in videos as well, or at least most of the concepts are covered in videos. You can see I put another link to the suggested practice problems here. So again, what you're going to want to do is do all the practice problems, read the textbook, watch the videos, work on the homework, and then later on, next week probably, I'll get into our first practice exam that's going to cover chapters 10 and 11. And so that's basically how it's going to work. You know, you see the Start Here module, which covers the exact same content that was covered in that announcement that I've been going over. As far as discussions go, I'm going to make another announcement about discussions probably today because we're going to have one due very soon. So you see chapter 10, then we have chapter 11, chapter 12. So we cover from chapter 10 all the way down to chapter 23 in the textbook. You can see I have all the lecture slides in here. And then when we get into the labs, I have little blurbs for every single lab. But again, you don't have to worry about the first lab for a little while, but you can see that I have all the information about the labs in here, or all kinds of information. And there you go. In the final exam, well, we certainly don't need to worry about that just yet, but hopefully that's enough to kind of get you going. And if we go back to the syllabus, just taking a quick look at it, you can see the dates of the course are from August 19th to December 8th. You see my contact information is here. You can always message me on D2L. You can send me an email. I'll do my best to answer within 24 hours. You can see the information with the course lead and the department chair. Important dates like the census date, the fall break, the withdrawal date. What else? Our textbook, again, is the Catherine Deniston General Organic and Biochemistry. It's the 11th edition. Lab kit, I mentioned that already. It's going to be shipped to you after the census date, and that's why we don't start labs right away. But remember, you want to enter your shipping address when you're prompted to do so. So lab kit arrival, we'll talk about that more later on, but you have to do something called a lab kit inventory. It's worth a small amount of your final grade. It talks about internet requirements. Since this is an online class, you have to have a reliable internet connection in a computer, of course. How to be successful in Chemistry 1012. Well, that's kind of summarized right here, okay? So if you're wondering, what do I have to do? You can see where it says to summarize the flow of information and activities are going to take the following form. The first thing you want to do is you want to read the textbook, okay? Make sure you read through the chapter, do the prep quiz. Now when it says go to class, I wrote that in italics because we don't meet for a synchronous lecture, but watch the YouTube videos. Hopefully they'll help you when you're trying to understand the chapter content. Do all the suggested practice problems from the textbook. Keep a record of that. Make sure you keep track of all of those. Any questions that you have, you can always shoot me an email, but there's also a tab under discussions that says course content questions, and feel free to post in there because everybody can see the question. And if I answer it, anybody can go in and take a look. Make sure you complete the chapter homework quizzes. Now the homework, again, that's found under the quizzes tab. There's no homework tab. And then our first exam covers chapters 10 and 11, so we don't have to worry about that today. But we'll talk about that more later on. Also, we have online labs that you do through Science Interactive. Of course, there's discussions, and there's one that's going to be due soon, which is just an introduction in safety and just commenting on academic honesty. We'll talk about that more later. And then you repeat that week after week. So it does take a lot. There's a lot of onus that falls on the student in an online class such as this one. Information about discussions. Sometimes students will ask me, I didn't know that this was part of the discussion. Well, the discussion guidelines are covered here in detail, so make sure you take a look at that, okay? Everything about discussions is found here. Missed assignments, late policies, you can take a look at that. The grading policy, of course, everybody's interested in that. And you can see that the assignment grades are shown here. So you see that the lab portion is worth 30% of your grade, and the lecture portion is worth 70% of your grade. You can see we have prep quizzes, homework quizzes, 5 discussions. The exams are worth the biggest part of your grade. Then, of course, there's a final exam that everybody has to write. Then for the labs, the getting started in lab safety, those are due this week. I mean, that's a very quick way to earn 4% of your grade right away. They're very quick, okay? You just register in Science Interactive. You don't need a lab kit, and you can get those done right away. Submission of proof of receipt of lab kit, we'll worry about that later on once the lab kits are mailed out. And then, of course, the labs, again, we're not going to worry about those today. You can see the grading scheme is here. The schedule for week 1, week 2, kind of follows the chapters, follows along with the chapters up all the way up until the fall break, which is the 15th week. And then we have the final exam after that. Okay, but you can see that everything is on here when the exams are. And I usually try to make practice exams for every exam. At least I do my best to do that. The schedule for the lab shown here. Again, everything that you need here is shown. You can see on week 5, there's 2 labs due, but there's no labs for weeks 2, 3, and 4. Again, that getting started lab safety worth 2% of your grade each. Very fast. All you have to do is create your account in Science Interactive, follow the link, and get those done right away. And then, this being a college class, I expect my students to take the time to read through the entire syllabus. I'm going back to the top here. And of course, if you have any questions about the syllabus or anything about the class in general, do not hesitate to contact me. Looking forward to a good fall semester with you. But just remember one thing, I'm repeating myself here, but just remember that in an online class, there is no synchronous lecture that you attend. And so, again, a lot of the responsibility falls on the student to be self-motivated and driven, that you're going to set aside time to read the textbook and watch the lecture videos and do practice problems, just like you would drive your car to campus to attend a class and sit there and sit through the labs and whatnot. So it is a commitment, okay? It is a commitment to take on an online class. But again, I'm here to help. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me.